Hello and welcome to Big Boy Bigger Dreams. I am the big boy with the bigger dreams, Eden Longson. I have opted to stand this episode, so for those who are listening just to the audio version of this, I am stood up. I will take the responsibility of being a podcast pioneer. I have pioneered the plog, the idea of there being a podcast version of a blog. I will take that responsibility, the mantle of pioneer. And I am now taking it in further directions by being stood up the entire time. So I'm going to stand up this entire time. And usually, just so you know, I usually record like half an hour to 45 minutes of these, sometimes an hour. So maybe this new form will dictate, how long I go for. Because maybe I get to 25 minutes and I don't want to do it anymore because I'm knackered. Because I'm stood up. Who knows? All I can say is that, this new form of podcast will revolutionize, will definitely, make people think, oh, maybe we should be doing podcasts differently because this is how Eden does it. And Eden's, he's a revolutionary guy. He's a pioneer. That is what I am, a pioneer. My name is Eden Longson, like I've said. And today's episode, I like to give these things titles. Today's episode is Wandering and Being Lost. This is, of course, a reference to a poem. Not all that is gold, not all that glitters is gold, not all those who wander are lost. Which is really funny because I remember going around to my friend Hope's house, who I was at her wedding a couple of weeks ago, which was very exciting. It was really lovely to be there. I was there with my pal Giles and a lot of our other pals, and we had a lovely time. Did I talk about the last podcast? I don't know. I don't care. I had a nice time. That's all you need to know. And I remember going around to her house, 8 years ago, and in her room she had a poster of it was like, I swear this is true. Hope can correct me if I'm wrong. I swear it was a poster of like a dirty pair of shoes in like a countryside kind of thing, and then the quote, not all those who wander are lost. And I just thought it was so funny because I can imagine there's a lot of like, girls who, I like traveling, I like, being outdoorsy, and, I'm so cool. And they have that kind of poster and that kind of imagery. And it's like, that's a quote from Lord of the Rings. That poem, not all that is gold, not all that glitters is gold, is a poem. It's a poem from Lord of the Rings. It's from the first book, Lord of the Rings, and it's when it's before the Fellowship have even been ordained a fellowship. And I think basically Bilbo has been there for a while, and he's been hanging out with Aragorn, also known as Strider at this point, I guess. And basically it's Bilbo revealing that Aragorn is actually meant to be king or whatever. He's actually like Isildur's heir or whatever. And it's sort of like he's basically saying not all that glitters is gold. So not, things may shine, but that might not actually be gold or important. Not all those who wander are lost, which I think is a really poignant line in the poem. Like just because you are wandering and because you are exploring, it doesn't mean that you're lost. And it kind of makes me think about what are they called? Situationists, I think they're called, or something like that. That is a group of people who believe that you should walk aimlessly. And that's because, so basically in capitalism, not to get on my liberal shit, but like capitalism sort of enforces the idea that you only travel either to and from work or to and from like places where you do leisure. So you travel from here to there. So you travel from your home to school, or from your home to work, and then maybe if you're home to like a place, so like a doctor's office, or maybe like a place of like where your hobby is. So let's say you like open water swimming, you travel to the Lido, go do your open water swimming, right? I'm going to change hand. I have a handheld microphone for whatever reason. Because I'm stood, because I'm pioneering podcasts. Anyway, so basically the idea is the situationists, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, they would say you just need to leave your house, don't have music on, don't have anything on. I mean, maybe you do have music on, I don't know. But you just wander, just walk take a left turn, take a right turn, take whatever turns you like. Just don't aim for anywhere. Just wander and explore, because this earth is also yours. You don't have to just be confined to those places. And by the way, whenever I say or when people say oh, capitalism does this, I think people who are higher up in the hierarchy of capitalism are also bound by this, are imprisoned by this, because they go to and from their place of work as well. Actually, the earth is ours. We're allowed to go wherever we want, really. So just go out and wander and explore and just be part of the world. And I think that's a really powerful thing, and I'd like to do more of it. And I think not all those who wander are lost is a really powerful quote. But in regards to the title of today's episode, wandering and being lost, they're two different things, right? I think there is wandering, there's exploring, but then there is also just plainly being lost. Being unsure of where you are, what you're doing, what your aims are, what your goals are. And I think anyone who's ever listened to another episode of this show, which by the way, this is episode 18 now. Only 2 of you listen to it, but still 18 episodes in, I'm pretty happy with that. That's fairly decent going. I just think I think being in your 20s is a constant battle between, are you wandering, are you exploring, or are you just lost and unsure of what to do? Because I think there were previous generations maybe where you go to school, once you finish school you get either a trade job, or maybe you go to university and then get a job straight out of there, and then you work that, and you maybe have kids, fall in love, have kids, and then keep doing that until you retire, and then just die a bit after then. That's life for a lot of people, for a lot of past generations, and I think I don't get it. And I think a lot of people in my generation don't necessarily get it, because I have a career. I think, to pivot to talking about work for a second, I have a day job, right? I work at Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance, and I work in the offices there. I'm an administrator for the research degree programs, so that's the PhDs and what have you. And that's what I do for a living. I work there, and I used to work there in the junior department, and that, I guess, could be considered a career, right? Because it is paying my bills, it is where I go to most days. I reject it, as in I don't think that's what I want, and I'm actively trying not to do it. That sounds, oh, for God's sake, I really hope the HR department aren't watching this or listening to this. But if you are, hello, welcome, listening to me ramble for however long I decide to ramble for today. Again, I am standing. I have noticed I am fidgeting a bit, so let's see how well this goes. This maybe is a 15-minute episode, who knows. But yeah, talking to work, I participated in the Learning and Participation Summer School, or the Widening Participation Summer School. There's a lot of debate goes on in these kind of departments about what they're called. So these are all what I would call outreach. So the outreach department. Sometimes they're called learning and participation. Sometimes it's public engagement, or widening engagement, or widening participation. So the L&P team, who are wonderful, Dervla and Neil, 2 wonderful people, and they invited me to come and work with them with the L&P Summer School. So it's called the Youth Music Summer School. And basically, I was the pastoral manager, so I was basically in charge of keeping the register. I stage managed the concert at the end of the week. I helped set up, just that kind of stuff. And I loved it. I had a great time. I really love working with young people. I memorized all of their names by the second day. So when they were leaving on the final day, I just could see them. I could tick them out because I just would see them and know their names. That made me feel really good. I know some people don't get why that feels like a big victory, but it does feel like a big victory to me, because I feel like the kids were there under our care, And so actually, if we need to be caring and we need to know who they are, where they are, looking after them, all that kind of stuff. And it was a really good week, and it was the concert at the end was really lovely, and I really enjoyed it. And it's one of those things where, like, so for example, in my actual job, so I took a week off so that I could do that. In my current actual job, I struggle to get out of bed. As in, and I don't mean like, gotta get out of bed. I mean as in, like, sometimes I don't manage it, and I have to, like, work quite late into the evening because I didn't want to get out of bed. I just couldn't get out of bed. Like, the other night I went to bed quite early. I went to bed at like 10 o'clock, which for me is very, very early, and I didn't get out of bed till late morning. Like, we're talking like 11:30. And that's not good. That's really not good. Like, that made me feel so shit, because it was like, I obviously don't want to be doing this. I obviously am not happy. But in contrast, the summer school every day was there no later than 8:45. I got there for like 8:30 or 8:45. I think one day I maybe got there a bit earlier than 8:30. I just, it was easy to get up because it's like, I'm going to go do something that I enjoy, that's fun, that's rewarding, and okay, great, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go do it. And not only that, but that week, my mother came down to visit, so every night I was out doing something. So I went to go see 2 proms on the Tuesday. I went to go see the prom, which was, I can't remember what orchestra it was, sorry, but they did Beethoven's Third Piano Concerto, which was meh. I just don't like Beethoven that much. And then they did Elgar's Enigma Variations, which was just beautiful. Blew the roof off the place. And then we went to see the Anna Latwood prom in the late evening, which was gorgeous. A really beautiful prom. Really, really enjoyed it. My sister came as well, which was really, really nice. My sister loves Anna Latwood. My sister kept joking to me that I should, like, try and marry Anna Latwood, and I was like, what do you mean? And she said, like, well, because you're similar age, you should try, because then Anna Latwood would be in my I could be family with Anna Latwood. I was like, okay, you're mad, okay, whatever. But my sister loves Anna Latwood, and she came along to the prom, and it was really great because Kate's never been to a prom before. She's never been to the Royal Albert Hall before. And it was just really lovely to, like, invite her into that thing that, I do every year, do with Mum every year, so all 3 of us were there. It was lovely. And then on the Wednesday, we went to see the Halle, D. Shostakovich 5, which was banging. And they also did Rachmaninoff's The Bells as well. Wonderful. It was great. Mark Elder sat down for the whole thing. Fair play. He's getting on a bit. It was still great to see him. Loved it. Really, really good. Thursday, my mum was saying, she was like, oh, maybe I'll go to Camden. She went to Southwark Cathedral and had communion in the daytime. It's like, all right, whatever. She's on that Christian shit. Go do that, whatever. I don't care. And then she, like, hung around Southwark Market and, just had a nice time there. And then she was like, oh, I'm going to go to Camden. I was like, are you sure you want to go to Camden? So for people who don't know much about London, Camden is, like, a very vibey place, North London. There's, like, punks who just sort of hang out on the street there. It's kind of it's very noisy, a lot going on, a lot of music venues, very, very, it's, like, countercultural, but it's also, lots of it are very gentrified as well, but, yeah, and I just was a bit like, I don't know if you're gonna vibe with Camden. It's so funny because then she texted me when she got to Camden, and her first message was, I don't hate it. And I was like, yeah, okay, right. Because the thing is, when you first get up on Camden Tube Station, it's just, there's so many people. There's various houseless people and beggars, and there's also people just trying to sell you shit on the street. There's just a big mass of people, and just lots and lots of people around. It's very noisy, very full on. But she walked up to Camden Lock Market, and then I met her after work, and we went and had an Italian, which was very, very nice. I had some pizza. It was lovely. Then the next evening, so the Friday evening, we went to go see the Lata Manganieshka prom, which was wonderful. My old boss and friend Tim Potier took the lead on arranging most of the tunes for the CBSO. That's the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. And then also a really good pal of mine, Saurabh Shiva Kumar. I think it's Shiva Kumar. Saurabh. Sorry if I said your last name wrong, buddy. But Saurabh, he arranged one of the tunes, and it was just great because it's like he's just graduated Trinity, and it's like, oh my god, like you've just graduated and you've already like arranged for a prom. That's so awesome. Nathan Durasamy, also who works at JT, he also did some of the arrangements as well. It was just a really beautiful prom. I was really happy to be there. It was lovely. It was also because it was so Lata Mangeshkar was a Bollywood legend. She was known as like the Nightingale of India or the Nightingale of Bollywood, and she recorded. I mean, they said something like over 50,000 songs or something. I mean, she's mad. I think in Bollywood it's a lot more commonplace for the main actress in a Bollywood flick will have an overdub of the voice. So they'll always have someone who overdubs the voice, and it's usually Lata Mangeshkar. So so she just has this incredible backlog of songs in Bollywood, and she died last year, and they did this prom as a tribute to her. And it was amazing because, you know, Mum and I were sat, and there was a couple behind us who we were chatting to who are of Indian descent. There was people in the box who spoke to me afterwards, also of Indian heritage, who spoke to me, and it was the largest amount of people with Indian heritage I've seen in the proms, in the Royal Albert Hall at the proms. Because usually it's people who look like me and my mum. It's like middle-class white people. It just usually is. And typically older white people. It's typically like elderly old white people. And it did feel a bit, because like in the promming area in the middle, which is where people can stand, there's the group of promenaders, the people who are like in their own little sort of cult. They just are all old white people, and they were sort of hogging the front, and it was sort of like, this prom isn't as much for you, man. Like, other people are more into this than you. Why don't you step back? You can always tell. I'm going to get on my soapbox for like a second, because this really annoys me. So at the proms, every year there's like 75 proms every year, and the majority of proms, which are usually just a load of classical music with an interval. In the interval, these promenaders are this group of people who stand like front left, stage right in front of the stage. They stand there, that's like their spot. They will often in the interval do this thing where they shout, "Promenaders to audience, we are raising money for musical charities," and then they'll say, "So far you have donated blah blah blah." And do you know the only proms they don't do this on are jazz, pop, and then turns out Bollywood proms. And it makes no sense to me. I think I need to speak to someone who's in that group and clarify why they don't do it. They didn't do it for the Jacob Collier prom. They didn't do it for the Quincy Jones prom. They didn't do it for the Nina Simone prom. They didn't do it for the Lata Mangeshkar prom. It's honestly infuriating. It's a bit like you're at this, like, so you're in a sold out arena full of people, in hall full of people. There's like 5,000 people here, but because they're doing jazz this evening, or because they're doing Bollywood this evening, or they're not doing this old dead white guy music, then they don't deserve to have musical charities collected for them. What? That doesn't make any sense to me. That really, it just boils my arse. I think about it all the time. I think about if I ever got a prom, doing music, if I was performing and presenting the prom and playing with an orchestra. I mean, my ultimate dream would be to play an evening of my tunes and arrangements I've done with the Metropole Orchestra. That's like, we're talking Mount Rushmore of dreams there. That's really like the tip of the top. Like, that would be earth-shattering for me. That'd be incredible. And I'd be sat in the interval, and I'd just be sat there waiting, and if they didn't do it, and then I got called to go back on, I'd talk about it. I'd go on stage and be like, why not this evening? And I would make a point, I think, of going and standing by the door and sending people in my band or whatever to go stand by the door, hold buckets out, and we're going to collect money for musical charities because, this is music as well. Anyway, I got really off topic there, didn't I? Anyway, the Latin Manieshka prom was wonderful. So each night of that week, I went out. So Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. I went out every night and did fun stuff, fun London stuff, and then still managed to turn up to work before 9 a.m. every morning. And that made me feel very happy. But then as soon as that week ends, the next week, I can't even get in for 9:30. It's really, it sucks. And I feel really bad because I bet there's someone else who probably could be doing a better job than me, who probably deserves that work more than I do. I don't know. I feel lost with that. I feel like that job isn't helping me wander. It's keeping me lost. Maybe. I don't know. But again, can't really quit because what would I do? You know, I have to pay rent. I've got to do something. I've got 3 weeks off, right? So this week I worked, and then I've got 3 consecutive weeks off, which is like my summer break. And in fairness, the middle one of those weeks is, first of all, my birthday is in that week, but also I'm playing on Legally Blonde at the Liverpool Empire Theatre, which is going to be amazing. I'm very excited. I got the music through today. I love that musical so much. I love playing that show. It's pretty well paid. Very, very happy. I'm very excited to go up and drum on Legally Blonde. It's genuinely one of my favourite shows ever. It aggravates me that the only time I've seen it live, my ex-girlfriend was in it. So I'm a bit clouded by that. But I have listened to it a lot and watched it on YouTube, and like, you know what? I think it's a fantastic show, and I'm excited to make my own memories of it. That aside, I used to work in Junior Trinity, so that is the department, I was talking about it before, where on every Saturday in term time, kids from the age of 3 to 18 come in and have their Saturdays where we, have individual lessons, orchestras, choirs, blah, 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 blah. So when I joined that department nearly a year ago, almost exactly a year ago actually, which by the way, woohoo, I've been in London for nearly a year, that's exciting. That department, I quit in May and then went straight on to this other job, sort of into June, I think, sometime. And yeah, they have hired someone new in that role. It took them a while, but they've asked me if I could come and help do the timetabling for next year. So timetabling was a big job for us to do last year because it meant every single student, every single teacher, we needed to make sure that all the students could fit with the teachers, all the teachers could fit with the students, and like, can they fit around all the music theory groups, the musicianship groups, the orchestras, the choirs, trying to make sure that every child gets as good a timetable as they can get, making sure that people don't have like 3-hour gaps in the middle, making sure that kids aren't there from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. with like hour gaps in the middle. It's a big job, and they've asked me to come and work for some days next week and the week after I'm in Liverpool. So that's 4 extra days I'm working over my 3-week holiday. And at this point, I the amount of departments I've worked in for Trinity Laban. So there's the junior department. I worked for public engagement because I did their CPMM concert back in April. Yeah. Then also learning and participation for the Stuff Summer School. The research department, I actually worked for, I did a crew shift, so that's performance. And then also I did some work for the postgraduate dance department because their administrator left. So I've now worked in 6 different departments at Trinity Laban. And I sort of said this jokingly to one of my colleagues, but I do think it's kind of true. I don't feel like I am valued, as in the sense of like, I don't feel anyone's like, oh, we got to get Eden on this because Eden's the best person for the job. It feels like Eden's a mug who says yes, and we just need a bum on a seat. And I think that, and I already work here, so there's less. They have to do less paperwork, less bullshit, and yeah, that kind of sucks. I don't know if that's necessarily the whole truth. Maybe I am all right at my job, but it definitely, especially with this timetabling one, it does feel a bit like you're only asking me because I do know how, because I've done the timetabling before, but it's like you could also just figure out how to do it. You're getting me in just so that it's easier for you guys. Maybe I'm just being very cynical. I think I'm in a bit of a self-doubt loop at the minute. I feel like I don't really value myself at the minute. I feel like I'm definitely down on myself at the minute. Coming not that long out of a relationship doesn't help with that, but I just feel like I'm in that lost space. I'm not wandering aimlessly exploring. I am kind of just lost, looking at a map being like, this is a map of, I don't know, it's made of spaghetti and butterflies. Like, I can't understand this. I don't know what metaphor is that, but I don't know. I keep saying, I think I said this earlier, but I keep saying to my parents, I'm just going to quit. And they keep being like, yeah, of course you can quit when you've got a new job. And it's like, I don't want any of these jobs. And by the way, this isn't to say I don't want a job. I definitely want a job because jobs are good and I like paying rent and contributing in some way to something. I just think I am not cut out to be someone who sits behind a desk and does administrative work. I am not very organised as a person. I am definitely an out and about kind of person. I just am not cut out to be sat behind a desk. And it's odd because I'm a composer, right? So composers usually sit, behind a desk, hunched over, like creating their symphonies and whatever. And there's a part of me that does like doing that for sure. But then there's another bigger part of me that loves the bit where I go out and I play it with my band or give it to an orchestra and like hear them play it and like, can I talk to you guys? What are we doing? Can we improvise? Can we do this? Can we do that? I love that stuff. I actually love human interaction. Like, that's the big thing at work, is that I am so good at distracting people. As in, like, I will just chat to them. And it's so interesting how people are so desperate for chat. Like, every person I talk to at work, if I can corner them for a couple seconds and just be like, how are you doing? How's your day? Oh, how's this going? Oh, have you got plans for this? Honestly, they will give you an hour of their day just chatting to you, because I just don't think people get a chance to chat much anymore. Or I feel like maybe it's a post-COVID thing. People just chat to their significant other or just to their family, or if they don't live with anyone, just themselves. And so actually sometimes people just love, or just not even love, just need chat. And I think that's sad but also beautiful, because I actually really enjoy chatting to people. And maybe I need to go and do more chatting to people. Maybe I need to take this microphone and actually put it in front of you or other people. I did do that one episode with my mum. I'm hopefully going to go stay with my sister, and I did try and get my sister on one before and she did say yes, so maybe I'll get an interview with my sister. That'd be nice. Unsure if my dad would want to be on mic, but it would be nice. I had a dream last night that my dad went blind. Is that weird? It's just a dream, and then we were like, oh, so can you give me a lift to the station, Dad, or something like that, because that's often what I'm asking him for nowadays. But then he was like, I can't anymore, I'm blind. And my dad was just blind, and it was, I felt very upset. And I remember we sort of went through this mourning of his sight, and my dad wears glasses, but he's not going blind, I wouldn't say. So it was really weird. If my dad ends up going blind in the next sort of like year or so, I'm calling it. I've got psychic powers. I can read the future. £20 a reading. No. £100 a reading. Let's go. Let's. God, get me started on mediums and psychics and whatever. A bunch of fucking woo-woo. I have got notes written on a laptop sort of behind the camera here, so sorry if I'm looking out of them every now and again. You know what I love? I love the stories of musicians or artists, creatives who like tell stories of when they were like living out of their car because they were just trying to make it. They were like, you know what, I really wanted to be an actor, so I just drove to LA, lived in my car until I'd done enough waiting shifts to pay rent, and then eventually made my way up till I got, until now I'm on Graham Norton talking about it. You know, like, I think I love that concept of sacrifice. Like, I will give up everything because I've got this dream, and I will happily be uncomfortable. I will happily be scared and worried. I will just do this so that I can pursue this thing that I think is worth pursuing. And I think that's amazing. And I wish I had the guts to do it. And it's more than just the guts, though. I think that is because that's not wandering or being lost. That's knowing exactly what you want to do, exactly where you want to be, and you know, and making it. You know, there's several stories. I mean, Mark Norman, the comedian, talks about, you know, he was living in like a really, really, really rough part of New York. I'm just gonna take a swig of tea. Really rough part of New York. He got mugged a few times, and now he's, you know, got a Netflix special. You know what I mean? You know, or there's a story that's sort of similar but not quite the same. Miles Davis, when he moved to New York, apparently his uncle or someone gave him like $3,000 or something, and he's like, use this to be successful. And apparently he just bought a suit with it. And he was like, and the uncle was like, what you did? Like, that was to eat and pay rent. And Miles Davis was like, well, yeah, but also if I want to be a famous jazz musician, I need to look like a famous jazz musician. I'm like, wow, that's fair play to you. Yeah, all right, that makes sense. I mean, and then we all know who Miles Davis is, so actually it worked, I guess. I guess the issue is you don't hear about all the stories of when it doesn't work, when people try and then fail miserably and then die in a gutter, or work, you know, a terrible job until they're 80. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I think the problem is that I don't know what I want because I'm still wondering. Or am I lost? So what does making it look like? What does like success look like to me? And to be honest, I kind of just wish I was happy. And I can be happy sometimes. Like, I was listening to Neil Brennan's podcast, Blocks, and I was listening to Tom Segura's episode, and it was a wonderful episode. He definitely hit on all the stuff all of his blocks. So that podcast is all about people's blocks and the blocks that they have that make them feel inadequate or whatever. And Tom Segura's had things about body image. Yeah, I got that. And then also he was talking about like emotional bandwidth, and he was saying about how he operates in like a really narrow emotional bandwidth. And I think I don't know if I'm similar and I do operate in a narrow bandwidth, but it's just lower, or if I operate in a really wide bandwidth and it means that I just don't have any regulation. Like, I'm either the saddest I've ever been, or I'm ecstatic. Like, it really, really does float between them all. I don't know about you guys, but I think I should probably like go see a doctor about some of this stuff, because maybe I've got ADHD, maybe I'm autistic, maybe I, you know, have got severe actual depression. Am I bipolar? I don't know. Do I want to label myself? Also, no. I don't know. I was speaking to my therapist about this. I'm really terrified of like drugs, and I think I've never done like recreational drugs, apart from like alcohol, which is arguably the worst one. But I would like eat a gummy. I would do drugs. I'm scared of the legality of it. I've been to Amsterdam, but if I went again and I was there for a long period of time and with cool friends, I think I would get high just to see what it was like. I don't have any moral objection to it. I'm scared of getting caught and going to jail. So, and I'm a big old rule follower. I like following rules because I don't know where that comes from. I think it comes from my mum. There's definitely like a sense of like, you're meant to follow rules. If there are rules, you do the rules. Which maybe doesn't work well with a creative, because maybe creatives are meant to break the rules. I don't know. I think I'm getting a bit off track here, but chemical dependency on like antidepressants or something really terrifies me. Like the idea that I have to give myself up and become dependent on these drugs to regulate who I am. Terrifying. Yeah, but yeah, I probably should go see a doctor about all this. I probably will. Or I could just talk to you guys about it every fortnight. Who knows? All 5 of you. So, yeah, happy. I'd like to be happy. I'd like to operate in a bandwidth that actually caters to just being happy, being content. And maybe happiness is like a really modern concept because, does a peasant farmer from the 1340s, do they think about like how happy they are? No, you sort of wake up in the morning, break your back cultivating crops, and then go to bed and maybe die of plague. Like that's your life. Like, where does happiness fit into that? There are some people. Maybe there are people who like making jokes while they're doing work, or maybe they like going to the pub after work, or maybe they do things that are fun. I don't know. I don't know. But I know for me, happiness comes from writing music, creating music, playing music, especially playing the music. I love playing music. And it comes from talking on a microphone on a podcast. It comes from talking to other people. I just love people. I love being around people. I just need to figure out how I can make that a career. How does that pay my bills? So I think for me, success is writing, recording, performing music, as well as writing and recording podcasts, as well as I also really, really want to write and direct films. Those things, if I could do those things as a day job, as in I don't have to do another job, I could just do them. I'll be as poor as I am now. I'll happily just be a renter and I don't need a lot of money, but I would love to be able to just do those things and just be alive. Hell yes, that would be amazing. I would be as fulfilled as heck. I'd maybe do some teaching on the side just because I enjoy teaching and I enjoy talking to people and giving guest lectures or something. I don't know. I don't need money. I don't need wealth. I don't need things. I'm not really a thing guy. This is a t-shirt from Asda. Like I really am not a guy who's into things. Look at this microphone. This is just like an AKG that I bought like 10 years ago, and it's got a little hat because I haven't got a proper pop shield. I'm not a big thing guy, and I would just like to be able to be alive, doing the things that I am good at. I feel like I've got just so many ideas and so much creativity, and it just needs to go from me over to someone else, preferably someone who will pay me. That's preferable, I guess. Someone who will allow me to be alive. So, am I lost in the woods, trying to see success for the trees, or am I wandering, trying to find the best possible version of myself, opening myself up to opportunities and anything that comes my way? I don't know. I just think it's and maybe lingering on it is actually part of the problem. I think that's a big issue that I struggle with, and maybe people out there might also struggle with this. I linger on, is this the right thing to do? Maybe that's the right thing to do. And I just get paralyzed by all the options. But because I perceive them as not options, I'm like, I can't do that. That's not going to work. And you got to try though. You've got to have a go at these things. You actually have to try them. Otherwise, of course, they're not going to work. What's the Office? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Like, it's 100%. That's so true. That is so true. But I think a big block for a lot of people is I can't even perceive them as shots. I don't even think I can take the shot. Never mind actually score. So, I don't know. I'm working on it. I've recently started going to the gym yet again, which you might be able to see how swole I am, maybe. Jokes. The gym that I go to Pure Gym in Charlton. And I used to love Pure Gym. I used to go to Pure Gym when I was in Stoke. Because Pure Gym North was this huge gym, It was absolutely massive. There was always space. And I used to, because I'm a madman, I usually go at like 11 o'clock at night, which I did last night, to be fair. And so there used to be barely on and in there. But last night I got to the gym at midnight, and it's still loads of people in there. Like, oh, and it's not that big a gym. It's like, oh, God's sake, why are there so many people here? I'm just trying to work out. Like, and the reason I like going when there's less people there is because I feel embarrassed when I'm working out, because, you know, while I'm running, you know, I sweat a lot, and they're like, ugh, you know, making noises, you know, trying to get through it, doing all the weights. And you know what? I'm not lifting, you know, 200 kgs of, you know, barbell or whatever. I'm not doing that. I'm just trying to get some weight loss going. I'm not cultivating mass. I am actively decultivating mass. And yeah, I'd rather do that in the company of less people. So maybe I'll just do the 1 month, and maybe I'll try and find somewhere else that's a bit less crowded. But London is crowded. You know what I mean? That's just a thing about London. It's full of people. And like I said earlier, I love people, I love chatting to people, but not when I'm working out. When I'm working out, I just want to be, leave me alone. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. I'm still working on myself. Sorry. Just trying to do the weights. I just need to, sorry. Yeah. Okay. I didn't do it right. Yeah. I've got my seat in the wrong position. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's not a lot of weight, is it? Yeah. Some beefcake was just on it and they were just lifting. Yeah. I've got to put it right down onto like the top 2 or 3 bars. I'm sorry. You know, like, even though no one's probably looking at me, let's be honest, and there are some beefcakes in my gym as well. There's some dudes walking around who look built, and it's like, well, everyone's obviously looking at them because look how cool they look. But I'm always worried that me in the corner, like, sweating as I do the push down arm one. The fact that I don't know the names for anything, what am I doing in a gym? I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get healthier, and I'm trying to feel more positive. That's why I'm there. No second guessing. Maybe we all need to stop second guessing. Maybe that's the difference between being wandering and being lost, is that when you're lost, you're second guessing every decision, whereas wandering, you're being like, I'm going to go down that road. Maybe that's the difference between those two things. Maybe being sure of your choices is wandering, and second guessing every choice is being lost. You know what? I didn't even write that down. That just came to me. I am a podcast pioneer. I have some music recommendations for you. So I've been listening to, I got recommended to it on TikTok, an album by Lake Street Drive, and specifically one song off it called Hypotheticals. So go listen to Hypotheticals by Lake Street Drive. Really cool vibe, really awesome song. Like, it's just so nice to listen to. It makes me feel really joyous. Really, really cool band. Definitely worth watching. Jacob Collier, JC, the Jesus Christ of music, I guess, has released a new song called Well. It's Well with like 5 L's. It's probably not that many L's. And it's really good. It's sort of like, it's very different to a lot of his other stuff. I assume it's what's going to be on Jesse Volume 4. I really like Jacob Collier. I saw his Prom back in 2017. I think he's great. I genuinely do. I loved his original album, In My Room. I thought that album was absolutely stonking. Loads of great tunes off that one. In the Real Early Morning, wonderful. His arrangement of You and I, just, you know, everything, you know, Haranga, just brilliant. I really genuinely love that album. Jesse Volume 1, because he announced that he was going to do 4 albums, the Jessies, Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. Volume 1 I thought was great. Really beautiful songs on there. I think some of it was a bit much, but For the Love of My Heart was incredible. What's it called? Mountain High, River Deep? Or is that the Tina Turner song? Ocean Wide, Canyon Deep. Ocean Wide, Canyon Deep, beautiful song. The version of All Night Long, wonderful. I thought that album was really good. It was with the Metropole Orchestra and Jules Buckley, who's like my absolute hero. And that album was fantastic. I preferred In My Room, but this one was great. Jesse Volumes 2 and 3 came out, and I didn't care. The albums were so long, just nothing on there that I really latched onto. But if this new single, Well, is a signal of what's going to come on Volume 4. I am very excited for Volume 4. It had a really cool, it's got like a rock sound mixed with Jacob Collier's jazz, big vocals. Like, I'm excited. I think that, go listen to that song and let me know what you think. Now I'm going to list a song that I listen to every now and again, and I think this song is so good. It's by a band called The Stat, and it's a song called Kitty Kitty, and it's basically all about Donald Trump, I think, basically, and about the rise of, like, well, I say the rise of, like, the current instance of us and theming, and just the, like, I think a lot of, like, right-wing bigotry, kind of, because, you know, this band are fairly political anyway, but this song is really good. Kitty Kitty is a reference to, you know, grab them by the, another word for a cat, kitty kitty. It's a really good song, and it is massive. It's got this really cool effect of having this sort of sidechain effect, where every bar, like, grows. It's like, it's like that. And then also it's swung, so it's like, and then every now and again it goes and straightens out. Really cool feel, really good vibe, absolutely massive. Love that song. I have a joke recommendation of music for you. I like to give 3, but here's a 4th jokey one, and it's so funny, and it's really bad, I guess, but it's from South Park. I don't know from what episode, but it came up on TikTok and it made me laugh so hard. And it's the kids are working. They've got like quarry axes, you know, like a pickaxe, and they're like hitting the ground, pickaxe in the ground. And then Eric Cartman decides to sing a song, and he goes like, "Days never finish. Master got me working. Someday Master set me free." And then Kyle goes, "Shut up, Cartman." It's so funny. It's so stupid and such a, yeah, it's making fun of just it, because that kind of the music that they're parodying there, like African American spirituals, that existed from like the sort of Grow Out Slave song, is what basically all pop music is built on, by the way. My favorite thing, and just hearing him parodying it in that way was just so silly, but also just really made me laugh. It was very funny, and I almost want to sing it. Like if my mum ever like asked me to do something, I'll just might sing it to her. I just think it's funny. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, thank you for listening. I have managed to make it to 45 or so minutes while standing, so not only am I a pioneer, but I'm also very brave. I'm a big brave boy, but I'm the big boy with the bigger dreams, Eden Longson. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.